Okay. Joining me now is the man of the hour here in New York, and now the rest of the country. It's Chris Smalls, president of the newly formed Amazon Union. Chris, how's it going?
Thank you for having me. It's going crazy, but it's crazy good for a good reason.
Yeah, pretty busy, I'd imagine. Before I get into the history of what you've done here, I just want to ask what are the status of negotiations now, like with a contract, and like where do you and the union stand now as it relates like Amazon and like getting a contract at the JFK 8 facility?
Yeah, well, as we can expect, the company going to fight us tooth and nail. So we're in the beginning stages of it. We're still trying to get certified officially after disputes that they're going to raise this coming days. So we're preparing ourselves for that. There's going to be a little uphill legal battle to get this all sorted out. But after this legal battle is over and we're officially certified, we're going to continue to walk and chew bubblegum at the same time and propose our contract right away. We're not going to hesitate or wait. We don't want this to be a long, dragged out process. Long, drawn out process. So we're going to start right away with that.
All right. Well, I mean, so what brought you to this moment? I mean, you started out working there. What was the light that went off in your head that thought like, hey, maybe we could use a union here at this Amazon facility?
Oh yeah, definitely. My journey started 2 years ago when I led a walkout outside of the same facility that we just unionized, JFK. I led a walkout over COVID-19. I was fired publicly 2 hours later. Then Jeff Bezos himself signed off on a smear campaign raised by his general counsel, calling me not smart or articulate, ironically making the face of the unionizing efforts. And, when I continued to advocate for workers' rights for about a year and a half, we started our campaign here in Staten Island. We wanted to bring it back home. And we started unionizing and organizing. And we realized that we had something special where we can get it done. And it was working for us. A brand new worker-led independent union with no major backing, no establishment behind us. We seen that this resonated with the Amazon workers more so. So we continue to do so.
I mean, a lot has been written about, what the conditions are like in these Amazon facilities. I was wondering if you could just describe for us, like, what is a typical day at the JFK 8 facility?
Oh, wow. But I used to tell my new hires, they got a gym membership, they got to cancel it. So these buildings are 14 NFL football fields. The size, they're almost about 1.5 million square feet, are just under that. You're walking around doing 10 to 12 hours of calisthenics. And, your commute could be 2.5 hours. If you live, depending on where you live in New York City or New Jersey, like myself, your commute was long. So that's not even including your commute. Your days are almost like 16-hour days. So the physicality of the job is definitely a huge reason why workers don't last very much long at the company.
And Amazon, from like a management level on down to the the pickers, as they're called in these facilities. I mean, they're a company that sort of prides itself on having a high turnover for workers because like they don't want people feeling like complacent or comfortable in any job.
Right. No. Yeah. That's the name of the game. Hire and fire. When Amazon is offering to hire 100,000 people, 150,000 people nationwide, it seems like it's a good thing to get praised about it, creating jobs, but they're not really creating jobs. It's more like recycling. They're hiring and firing. So that's the reason why, this union is important.
How aware were you and your fellow organizers of the other union effort that took place in Bessemer, Alabama, that lost the vote initially? How aware were you of what they were doing in Bessemer, and did you try to change anything? Like, why do you think that you guys were successful where Bessemer initially failed?
Well, we paid attention to what they had going down there. We actually drove down there, 16 hours down there, their first campaign, to see and witness what they had on the ground. And what we noticed is that they didn't really have too much of a workers' committee inside the building the way we do here in Staten Island. That was one of their biggest mistakes. The first campaign was not really working on that workers' committee inside the building, because it's important to have a presence on the inside. Myself, I was on the outside of the building. So I stayed and I pretty much slept at the bus stop outside of JFK for the last 11 months. And that helped. We had an inside-outside game. We had organizers that were vocal in the building, that were wearing the AOU shirts from day one. And we were passing them out inside the building, just showing workers that you can't be afraid when you're going up against your employer. You got to stay militant and stay together. And that also helped as a key part to getting to where we are.
So you were at the bus stop and you were talking to people who are like coming home from work or arriving at
Yeah.
the facility, and then you talk about like this a workers committee that's like inside the facility itself. They're wearing the union T-shirts. They're talking to people about forming a union. Could you talk a little bit more about like how those workers committees, like how that operates, and like what was the pitch that they were making to workers to like get them on board with something like this?
Well, it worked because my lead organizers, just like myself, are invested in the company. Derek Palmer, our vice president, he's a 6-year Amazon vet. I